Are you sure that the sun will rise tomorrow? Photos of the star horrified scientists, and humanity faces a new ice age, they claim. The photographs of our star received by observatories around the world are creepy, despite the fact that another cycle of activity is underway. There are almost no sunspots on its surface. Then where are they? Back in 2019, the sun could not get out of the minimum solar activity and did not flare up. There were even wild theories that deep inside itself it had actually cooled down. A photon born in the depths travels to the surface for about 1 million years. But in reality, it will go out a long time ago, so maybe it has already happened. But as soon as the pandemic began, the activity of the sun also went up, and with a bang. The current high is considered the most violent in recent memory. Auroras are constantly seen in mid-latitudes, which is a very rare thing, a sure sign of a raging star. And they thought that this would be the case until, it wouldn't be the case until 2025, when a peak is expected. The period of fluctuations in solar activity is about 11.5 years, that's a solar cycle. And here it is. Astronomers' comments are still cautious. They point out that this is not uncustomary. The sun may freeze slightly and then continue to accelerate to its peak. So soon new spots will emerge from the edge of the disk and everything will return to normal, they claim. Optimism justified? Back in 2011, several studies appeared proving that the sun is gradually cooling down and its activity is falling. As astronomer Frank Hill said then, perhaps the regular cycle of activity changes is breaking. This is very strange and unexpected, he noted. He saw the reason that the magnetic field of our star is gradually weakening. We know the magnetic field of the Earth is also gradually weakening. And the sun, he says, it is the spots that can signal this, because spots are areas of high magnetic field. According to Hill's estimates, the current cycle should not be strong. When it broke up, they forgot about the prophecy, but isn't it time to remember this? And secondly, in the summer, there were forecasts that the current maximum of activity would occur earlier than expected. This also suggests that the cycle is broken. So there are two arguments in favor of the fact, and there is something wrong with the cycle. The recent study showed that at the height of the Little Ice Age, that's about the 16th to 18th centuries, the sun changed its activity not once every 11.5 years, but once every 8 years. Thus, when the star cools, its cyclicity breaks down. During the Little Ice Age, humanity suffered greatly. The fields did not bear fruit, the summers were terrible and rainy, and the winters incredibly harsh. Everything seems to indicate that a repeat of this story is not far off. Of course, we won't rush. The climate may not change right now. Activists will continue to fight against global warming, sincerely believing that it's only caused by human activity. But if the signs listed above are not a chain of coincidences, in a decade or two, everything will become obvious, and a new ice age will become the main concern of humanity. Daily Chronicles. Strange records have been preserved in the chronicles that our daylight faded, and we're not talking about an eclipse. People may not have seen the sun for years. Usually such evidence was attributed to artistic exaggeration and error or deliberate lies, or was interpreted as the activity of volcanoes, which they say clogged the atmosphere. But what astronomers seem to have discovered is that stars like the sun can actually dim. Their light is obscured by megacomets, and these punishing-tailed guests resemble either the planet Nibiru or the Wormwood star about which legend speaks. The worst year in history? If you type this combination of words into a search engine, the story will unfold in front of you that you most likely will not believe. However, it's true. In the year 536 AD, the sun disappeared from human sight for more than a year. Can you imagine? In humanity's collective memory, this event remained as the twilight of the gods, Ragnarok in Scandinavian. People decided that the gods had destroyed each other in a colossal battle and abandoned people to their fate. Darkness, according to Procopius of Caesarea, the ancient writer, he says, darkness fell and the sun shone dimly like the moon all year. Can you imagine that? It was like an eclipse, for the rays of the sun were not pure and not as usual. And from the moment it began, people could not escape either from war or from plague or from many other deaths known and unknown to man. Well, you can imagine if there's no sun, we don't have life, we don't have production, we don't have plants or animals. And obviously people are scurrying to find out how they're going to eat and live. Now, so the sun rose and set, but it seemed to shine reluctantly. Its light was no brighter than the moon, they said. Of course, the cold came. In the spring, the fields seemed to turn green, but they remained barren. It snowed in the summer, and a terrible drought set in Europe, in northern Europe, resulting in forest fires that destroyed crops, forests, and cities. After the famine came the plague. This connection has been noted more than once in history. The immunity of the people of that time was mediocre. In vain they think that in ancient times everyone was healthy. They lived in the dirt without medicine and ate monotonously. So as soon as they left with the already meager food, the disease was right there. Entire cities stood empty. Thieves who tried to rob the houses of the victims died themselves. Now, Bible testimony. But was their terrible year the only one? The Bible records very similar events. Egyptian darkness, remember? According to the plot, Moses asked Pharaoh to release his people to their homeland, otherwise the 10 plagues will befall the country. Pharaoh refuses, executions begin, and darkness is one of them. According to Bible, the book of Exodus, Moses stretched out his hand to heaven, and there was thick darkness throughout all the land of Egypt for 3 days. They did not see each other, and no one rose from his place for 3 days, and all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. It seems that darkness was the cause of the other 9 disasters, namely there was a crop failure, toads crawling out of the swamps, locusts and minges from the steppes, people got sick and died, the rivers were left without fish, and the water in them turned into blood. And although it's not clear how all these could happen, especially water being turned into blood in general, it's as if it was a similar script from the year 536 AD. Scientists doubted the historicity of the story, but now they found a papyrus in which the same events are described, so it became known that all these horrors happened in the 13th century BC during the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses II. The sun's double. Far away at a distance of 3,600 light years, there is a twin of the sun. The light years, or I thought it was just plain years, not light years. I think it's not light years, it's just years. The star Assassin 21QJ, well, maybe it is light years, which was found at the center of the scandal in 2014 when it suddenly went dark. It looks like the year 536 has arrived there. Since then, it has slowly returned to normal. Wow. After scientists have exhausted all possibilities, it now appears that an international team of researchers has identified the real cause. In short, it's a megacomet. God forbid. Stars condense from dust and rocks, which are brought together by gravitational forces. It's gravity that initially ignites nuclear reactions in the center of a clump. A star is born, but construction waste remained, and planets are assembled from it. However, there is still a lot of garbage anyway, concentrated so far away, even the Voyagers have not reached there yet. The Oort cloud is what we call this region, at a distance of 100,000 Earth orbits from the Sun, only 40 Earth orbits to Pluto. It's from there that new comets arrive from time to time. And the star Assassin 21QJ also has such a cloud. Astronomers have come to the conclusion that emissions from this heap of construction debris caused an ice age for those who may live near this star. Exactly the same thing happens with us. call it a comet swarm invasion, and it could be true. Comets, that is what the primary matter of the solar system looks like, or maybe one megacomet. It's possible. Civilization reboot. The legends of different nations say that from time to time, a certain celestial body approaches the Earth, which destroys everything, and we have to learn to live again to reboot civilization. Thus, Babylonian texts talk about the planet X Nibiru, which cannot be identified with the known planets. When Nibiru appears, the worldwide cataclysm occurs. From the Bible, we know the star Wormwood will herald the end of the world, poisoning everything on our Earth. That's in the book of the Revelation, the Apocalypse. Of course, so far, the conclusions look too bold. Something periodically flies in from outskirts of our star systems, blocking the light of the star, destroys fully or partially life on planets. Was the cataclysm of 536 AD a mini end of the world and the Egyptian darkness? What about the year without summer? Looking at the events at a distance of 3,600 light years from us, let's say perhaps yes. When can we expect the new guests arriving? We don't know. Sun as a variable star? 4 billion years ago, the sun was 30% dimmer and has been getting brighter ever since. Then the average temperature on Earth was minus 7 degrees Celsius, and the liquid oceans where life arose splashed only thanks to the tectonic heat emanating from the depths. Secondly, the sun changes its activity every 11 years, and now is a maximum activity, and at around 2050, a super minimum is expected, and then the planet will become noticeably colder. They even talk about the return of the little ice age. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. This is on Solask. Thank you. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.